Welcome into the ADN studio. Happy to have you with us here on the American Huddle. Alongside college football analyst Andy Gresh, I'm Haley Outen. Andy, Week 8 certainly did not disappoint.
No, it did not. We've had a couple of really good games here in the American this week. We had some surprises with people who didn't play, and we're heading towards November, and you know what that means? It's winning time.
That's right. There were a lot of eyes on the first game of the day Saturday in Philadelphia. Temple handed Cincinnati its first loss of the season and sent it to overtime to get the job done. Quarterback Anthony Russo threw a touchdown pass to tie the game with 49 seconds left to wide receiver Brandon Mack, and then another touchdown in overtime, this time to wide receiver Isaiah Wright to win it for the Owls. Andy, what did we learn about Russo late in the game despite throwing 2 picks against what was a top 25 team in Cincinnati?
Haley, I'm a believer that your quarterback is the leader of your football team, and you sort of get your identity from a quarterback. And what I saw out of Anthony Russo was really what Temple is morphing into. It doesn't matter what happened on the previous play. Go out, execute, continue to fight, and find a way to win. And to me, that's what this Temple team is all about. Haley, all year long, we've talked about the non-offensive touchdowns that Temple's been able to score this year, but they've done it literally by any means necessary. Sometimes it's special teams, sometimes it's defense, and sometimes it's the offense and the quarterback, Anthony Russo, continuing to fling the pill even though he had a couple of bad throws there in the fourth quarter.
You mentioned it. It's about getting the job done, Temple's offense doing so, but also a solid showing by the defense. Another last-minute win came from a game that you had circled on your calendar. In fact, SMU at Tulane. Quarterback Ben Hicks got the start for the Mustangs and led his team back from a 23-14 fourth quarter deficit. How is this team maturing late in the season under first-year head coach Sonny Dykes?
Haley, I think they're settling in under the Sonny Dykes system. And look, leave Ben Hicks out there and let him play. I mean, at this point, let him go out there and let this team make mistakes and grow. You can definitely tell there's something there with him. 291 yards, 3 touchdowns, and you know what? There was a pick 6 mixed in there as well, but a lot like Anthony Russo, standing in the pocket tall, flinging it when he needs to, and of course they end up getting a tough win against the Tulane team who, I thought the quarterback, John Banks, that goal line run, holy cow, that was big-time stuff. Still need more out of the passing game. Turnovers were an issue, but SMU is starting to get it a little bit, and I think the stability of quarterback is going to go a long way to them playing good football.
SMU currently sitting in sole possession of second place in the West Division standings. Houston and Navy, always an important matchup in the West, and the Cougars were able to hand the Mids their second straight loss at home, something we very rarely see. Quarterback De'Aaron King stole the show for Houston, passed for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, and added another on the ground. If that isn't enough to make you say, wow, Houston is a team that has reached that 40-point mark in 7 straight games. How dangerous is this Houston offense going to be for opponents late in the year, assuming they stay healthy?
Very, very, very dangerous, in part for 2 reasons. Number one, the wide receivers are starting to make big plays, but De'Aaron King, you see his ability to run the football, run through contact. That's the running back part of him. But also, he's throwing the ball short and guys are making plays. I mean, Navy was up in this game 17-7 in the second quarter, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was an explosion of scoring in the second quarter. And then in the second half, Houston was able to really settle in. They settled down on defense, and they were scoring a bunch of points. And I think De'Aaron King, he's the offensive player of the week here in the American, and that's a guy who's got to be on the radar, I think, for the American Player of the Year. But it all really starts with him, Haley. If they lose him, I don't know what they have a quarterback behind him.
De'Aaron King, as you mentioned, collecting those American offensive honors this week, and will have a chance to hand USF its first loss of the season on Saturday. Definitely one to keep an eye on. And speaking of the Bulls, running back Johnny Ford made a statement on Saturday, rushed for 3 touchdowns on 7 carries to help get USF the victory in what was a slow start. The Bulls have rallied from double-digit fourth quarter deficits to win 3 times this season. Andy, how can USF get off to a better start to avoid these risky late game situations?
Well, I think they've got to become a little more balanced in that, we know that Blake Barnett is going to play the quarterback position well for the most part, but they've got to get back to having some balance, being able to set the pads for the offensive line, run the football early on, then get into the play action game. And he mentioned that it was a slow start. I mean, we're talking 7-7 here at halftime against UConn. And at the end of the day, USF was the better team. They had better athletes. I'm a little worried about them defensively, though. I don't see an elite defense from the Bulls yet, so they're going to have to continue to score points to be able to win. But again, find a way to stay unbeaten, because the people who have the 0 in the right-hand column, those are dwindling across college football.
USF, one of 5 unbeaten teams remaining in the FBS. The other in the American, UCF, of course, riding 20 straight wins, and they were without their Heisman hopeful quarterback, Mackenzie Milton, Saturday night at ECU. Freshman Daryl Mack Jr. was able to step in and get the job done, but the stat that jumps off the page, the UCF defense forced 5 turnovers. How crucial was it that on a day where the offense didn't come out of the gates like it normally does, the defense was able to make a statement like that?
Huge, 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 because I think for UCF, how many team wins can you put together? They're clearly fighting the thought process of the folks who are the voters. So to me, the more team victories you can put together, the better. Make you realize that they do have a defense that can produce touchdowns. They have an offense that is varied, and it's not just all about Mackenzie Milton. And you look at Daryl Mack Jr., I thought he did a really nice job, 189 total yards. You know, normally when the backup comes in, especially for someone who's a Heisman candidate like a Mackenzie Milton, you're just hoping that they don't wet themselves. Just go out there and play well and be okay. And he did more than that. I thought that was an impressive win for UCF in a lot of different ways.
Here's a topic that'll get the fans going. In this week's top 25 rankings, UCF stayed at 10 in the AP poll, but dropped from 9 to 10 in the coaches poll. Andy, in your opinion, why is UCF not getting that respect yet late in the season, riding this remarkable win streak?
Okay, this one gets me. In fact, you know, I got these goofy note cards. Like, I'm throwing the note cards on the floor for this one, because the people who vote in these polls are clearly not giving UCF respect. Whenever a starting quarterback goes down, I don't care who they're playing. Starting quarterback doesn't play, backup comes in, they win 37-10. It's a round of applause from the writers across college football, lauding that team and telling them how great they are. Yet with UCF, they don't even move a smidge in the top 25 when there are other teams that are losing. And that's the part that gets me. The win streak is what now, 21? What do they have to do? They didn't play without Milton. They put together team performances. They've won all the games they can, and people still aren't showing them any love. So really, I hope that the College Football Selection Committee and the CFP group is actually watching what's going on, because to me it's evident that the people who are voting are just going, well, UCF's number 10. Let me not do any research. Let me not look into what they're doing, and let me not move them up the ladder. Everybody else moves around them, but UCF can't get the respect that they've earned and deserve. What more do they need to do? People say go win games. I don't know, longest streak in the country. Seems pretty good. Heisman candidate, doesn't play. No love off the victory. I don't get it, and the voters should be ashamed of themselves. It's
Wow.
that simple.
Yes. Of course, the important rankings coming out next week as the college football playoff makes their official rankings here in the
Yeah,
first week of November.
and let's hope that they're a little more in tune with what's going on and actually giving UCF some respect versus the college football writers who are too busy worrying about where the next free meal is coming from at the next game they're going to.
Let's switch gears here. Heading into week 9, Andy, which 2 players are neck to neck for Player of the Year honors in your opinion?
Well, Mackenzie Milton has got to be one of them, in part because of what UCF has done. And again, it's a part of my rant, but the pressure continues to build on them, and Milton has played well. You know, it was smart, I think, for Josh Heupel to not let the cat out of the bag that he may not play. And then D'Eriq King is another guy who has clearly put himself square into this race. I mean, when you look at what Houston's done, they can control their own fate on their side of the American here. And I just think that he's really rounding into shape. You're seeing him run it. You're seeing him throw the ball really well. So I'm going to say it's those 2 guys right now. But you and I can revisit this in 3 weeks, and there may be another player or 2 who has joined the conversation.
Of course, we'll revisit this conversation as the year rolls on. That's a wrap on Week 8. Looking forward to a great Week 9 across the American. And of course, we'll be back here later this week to preview Week 9's action. We'll see you then.